You are watching ZD-27.
In this episode, I'm going to be talking about remote viewing. Specifically, my research and my investigation into S-4, Site 4, where Bob Lazar supposedly worked at, near Area 51, near Papoose Lake, according to Bob Lazar. He said it's about a 15-minute drive, 10 to 15-minute drive. I've mapped it out many times for many years. I've looked at the satellite imagery to an extreme degree. I'm sure many have at least glanced at the satellite imagery, which is readily available. Google Maps, Google Earth, you can see a lot. It's not as super secret as it used to be. We have come a long way concerning the transparency of Area 51's existence. Are there UFOs there? Are there flying saucers there? That's the big question. Are there alien bodies there? Bob Lazar in 1989 came out and said, I worked at S-4 near Area 51 and I reverse engineered a flying saucer, but one day the hangar doors were all open, and Bob said he was able to see all the way down a row of many different flying saucers. But he was able to peek and see that there was a top hat looking one. He said there was a really old, ancient looking one. There were some partially destroyed ones. There were some fully intact ones, but he said every single one of them was a different shape. That's definitely interesting. He said the one he worked on was the newest looking, sleekest looking, sport looking one, which is why he named it the sport model. Bob says he reverse engineered the gravity field drive, or he tried to, the best he could. He said they weren't able to open it up to see how it actually worked. I do believe Bob said when they did try to open it up, the person who he replaced, just the previous, who knows how many years they've had this in their possession trying to reverse engineer it. But he said the previous worker who's trying to reverse engineer this gravity field drive, gravity wave drive, whatever it is, this alien technology drive, he said it blew up and it killed the guy. So, kind of scary. Maybe trying to open it was off limits at that point. Bob said they popped in a little element 115 triangle that was the color of copper, but it wasn't copper. He said it was an element that's totally foreign, and even to this day, we cannot create element 115 on any solid level. The Russians have synthesized a element that is now on the periodic table as element 115, but it dissipates within nanoseconds, and it isn't a solid element based on what we can synthesize, and it's called Moscovian, of course, after Moscow. That's neither here nor there, okay? I wanted to investigate and find out whether or not S-4, Site 4, exists or not. Perhaps Bob Lazar was having coffee in the break room one day, and he saw a poster on the wall, and that poster had a freaking flying saucer on it, and it said, "They're here." That's what Bob Lazar said he saw at S-4. A poster on the wall of a flying saucer over a desert with the caption saying, "They're here." That's the exact same caption from the Poltergeist movies, and it's a caption I've seen many times. Here are other examples of the "They're here" caption. I'm probably the only person in the world that's ever searched for the They're Here poster. And what I was able to find was an old Colombian coffee ad that says, "We know why they're here." So it has "They're Here," and it has a flying saucer in the ad. So that is very coincidental, very interesting. Exactly matches the words Bob said, but it adds "We know why they're here." I've been able to find others. For example, an old computer ad saying "They're here." We have, of course, the Poltergeist poster, "They're here." And another computer ad, Microsoft Visual C++ for Windows. There's a t-shirt that says "They're here" with a green extraterrestrial holding the software product. It's interesting that they would include "They're Here" and aliens. "They're Here" and aliens isn't a common combination. So Bob Lazar pulling that out of the air is kind of interesting. "They're Here" is most famous from the Poltergeist movies. And Poltergeist is clearly not about aliens or extraterrestrials. It's about spirits being disturbed on a Native American burial ground. Perhaps extraterrestrials are closer to spirits than people like to give them credit for. So Tom DeLonge is talking about this aliens or demons thing, and this is what he said. Hypothetically, what if they figure out that we're immortal, that our soul is part of something greater and bigger? We might die and have a painful life, and we learn our lessons, and we reincarnate to learn more or whatever. And they're going, if we die, we have nothing. They all go, we want that. And then what if we have those interactions and we start writing books like the Bible and say, Satan wants your soul, demons want your soul? It all starts making a little more sense, right? So it's Tom DeLonge kind of musing on the aliens or demons theory, theorizing that aliens don't have souls, and when they're dead, they're permanently dead, and when humans die, we continue to live on, whether it's reincarnation or some other means. What I find interesting is die-hard occultists who summon demons. Some of them are even scared of aliens. They're like, aliens? I don't want to mess with them. Aliens are freaky, man. So that gives you a little bit of context. When a die-hard sorcerer occultist says aliens are freaky, it gives you a little hint that maybe aliens aren't really good. Maybe they're evil to an extreme degree. It's becoming a common trend to call aliens demons, and it has for many, many, many years. I've been part of the UFO community, believe it or not, for many years. I got an email response from Whitley Strieber in the year 2007. So this was me talking to Whitley Strieber about an old UFO hoax called the Carrot Drone hoax. It's so old you probably never heard of it. It was a CGI hoax. Someone used a CAD program. It got picked up, of course, by Linda Moulton Howe and Coast to Coast AM, and everyone was talking about it. Even Whitley Strieber was talking about it. And when I heard Whitley say, oh, it might be real, I was a little disappointed because I know he's a true contactee. He was a contactee on an insane level. Communion. You've all heard of it. If you haven't seen the movie, I recommend it. It's based on his book. I recommend it. He calls the aliens visitors. He never calls them aliens. This is what Whitley Strieber emailed me. The phrase, I know for a fact, does not make an opinion a fact. So he was suspect of me using the phrase, I know for a fact. But the fact is, the Carrot Drone was created in a CGI program. It's already been matched up by many people as a specific drilling, digging device. Someone broke apart the actual CAD components, which are 3D model components, and they colored them in and threw them on some cloud photos and said, oh, it's in the sky. Now, the people who released these photos were always anonymous, every single time. So that's the hugest red flag there, okay? When something's uploaded anonymously to the internet, don't trust it to be anything. Okay, the device is called a pipeline pig. A pipeline pig is some type of digging device. Okay, here's the better response from Whitley Strieber right here. Correct hoax? You are jumping to conclusions. It may be a hoax, but your statement is one of opinion and not fact. There's a huge difference between the two. And also, Hoaxes in this field are often not what they seem. They are often perpetrated by people with close encounter experiences, buried in their minds somewhere, who are obsessive. They make hoaxes, but the hoaxes contained concealed and valuable information from their suppressed encounters. Even if the correct material is indeed a hoax, it almost certainly contains such information. The world of close encounter is not simple. You need to be comfortable living in a fun house, frankly, where some of the mirrors reflect truth, others partial truth, and others are complete illusions. The only way to negotiate it is to stay unsure. My guess is that the correct material will never be definitely proved or disproved, but we'll be left with the question. But no matter, questions are more powerful than facts, if used responsibly. Whitley Strieber. So that's Whitley Strieber's email to me back in the year 2007. I greatly appreciated that response. And reading that now as opposed to back then, I appreciate it more. Thank you, Whitley Strieber, for sending me that email. Site 4, S-4. I've been researching this location for years. Easily 100 hours poured into seeing whether it exists or not. And we got this guy right here. All right. Here are my lucky little wristicuffs. I've been researching, investigating Site 4, S-4, Area 51 for many, many, many years. Back in the 90s, the satellite imagery was all pixelated, so people were forced to go to Freedom Ridge to get a good view, get a good look at the base. That's where Bob Lazar took his friends to watch the UFO test flights. He said he knew the schedule of the test flights. But this manual from the tester's model kit is one of the most official Bob Lazar booklets on the subject that exists. Every single page was approved of by Bob Lazar himself, including this page right here showing the location of S-4. You can see Papoose Lake, and you can see S-4 right there. So I've looked at the S-4 satellite imagery for many years. I've looked at the Google Earth, Google Maps. Google Earth is pretty high resolution these days, and I was looking at it, observing it up close, trying to see the hidden hangars on the side of the mountain that Bob Lazar said contain many flying saucers. I was investigating S-4 on a level which perhaps I never had investigated the location before. So I remote viewed S-4, and this is what I saw. Just going to cut to the chase and tell you what I saw when I remote viewed S-4. I looked through the mountains. I looked through the pixels. I looked at my computer monitor. I studied and looked for tire tracks. I looked and looked and looked. Bob couldn't have ridden a bus there. There's no tracks that lead all the way down. They're non-existent. Rubber against sand is going to create an indentation that cannot be cleaned up and covered up. It's going to leave a tire track trail indentation, and that indentation doesn't exist in any of the satellite imagery. It doesn't go all the way down to Papoose Lake and all the way back up. It doesn't exist. No matter which direction you go on the mountain range, it's not there. Unless Bob took a little subway system through the mountain itself to that Papoose Lake view overlooking Papoose Lake, unless he took some secret underground subway through the mountain itself, he didn't actually go to any Papoose Lake mountain range. And it was at that moment itself when I thought, he couldn't have taken a secret tunnel through the mountains to the mountain range near Papoose Lake. He said he took a bus ride around it, not through the mountain. And when I thought through the mountain, I pierced the veil and I actually saw through the mountain itself. Where the supposed flying saucer hangars are located, I was able to fly to the location. I was able to stand on the mountaintop and look. And I saw sand and dirt. And I was able to look very close. And I saw a couple dried up plants. And I saw a couple ants. I was on the ground. I saw a couple ants walking around. And I looked even closer. And I flew through the mountain itself. I flew 10 feet, 20 feet, 50 feet, 100 feet, 200 feet through the mountain, and all I saw was dirt and rocks and sand. That's it. There was nothing there. There was no secret hangar. I saw dirt, rocks, and sand. I actually pierced through the mountain itself. It's the first time I've ever remote viewed going through something on that level like that. Usually it's just like a bird's eye view or like a drone's eye view of something. So this is the first time I've ever flown through something to see it on that type of a level, but I had to fly through it to see what was there, and there was nothing there. I'm still open to Bob Lazar telling the truth and working at S-4, but I knew it wasn't at Papoose Lake anymore. I just knew. So I started to look at other possible locations for S-4, and the only location I could find with tire tracks that exist on any level, there has to be some structure, there has to be some infrastructure, there has to be some road that is traveled to and from over and over and over. If there's not, then there's no evidence that anyone works anywhere on any regular basis, because there has to be a to and from tire track road and path and trail that exists. And the only path and trail that exists from Area 51 isn't south near Papoose Lake, but instead is north at this northern mountain range, still overlooking the Area 51 Groom Lake area. I've never thoroughly looked at this mountain range, although I have looked at it, probably for 30 minutes in the past, skipping over it like it's nothing, but really examining it as a potential site for S-4. I looked at this northern mountain range, and it looks exactly like the type of facility Bob Lazar was talking about. It's more robust, it's bigger, it has the potential for hidden hangars on the side of it, and unlike Papoose Lake, there is a paved road that goes straight to it. It's about a 5-minute drive north of Area 51, and it still encompasses the Area 51 area and location, and is most definitely connected and part of the military site. There is a building on top of the mountain range, and there's 2 smaller buildings behind it. Or are they buildings? They might be air conditioning vents. The first building could be an elevator shaft where you go down into the hangars. The 2 tiny white squares could be air conditioning ventilation shafts for the vast underground inside of the mountain hangar facility. I looked. All of my remote viewing sessions are spontaneous, except when I'm really researching and investigating something. It's still spontaneous, but it's still a surprise that it's happening. Anyone and everyone can remote view. You can remote view as well as I can, I believe. If you investigate something and research something on a level of 100 hours poured into wanting to know something, whether it's something that could be found through Google searches, or it's impossible knowledge that can never be found, no matter how many millions of hours you pour into it. At some point, the universe, perhaps, is feeling sorry for you. I don't know why this happens, okay? I don't know the mechanics behind it, but I don't believe you leave your body. I believe you're still in your body, because this is how it feels and looks like, and this is how I can explain how it manifests to me when it happens to me. I'm still in my body, I'm still awake, but spontaneously a video is played in my head. And the video will be like a real-time bird's eye perspective of something, but only in the video in my head. I'm actually still awake and I'm still conscious. I'm not asleep, although I would have to say I was half asleep on one of these spontaneous remote viewing sessions. Let me talk about that one because I have a little bit of a trail talking about that one. Billy Meyer, I already told you I'm not a huge fan of Billy Meyer. So back in the day, I had a lot of back and forths between Billy Meyer's spokesman, Michael Horn, and we're not exactly friendly with each other, okay? We don't like each other. We tried to debate at some point, and he tried to have the moderator be a Billy Meyer fan and sympathizer. So I wanted a neutral moderator. We could never agree on that, and so the debate never happened. One thing did happen on my investigation with the Billy Meyer. Is somehow I spontaneously remote viewed Michael Horn. And this is a true story. It actually happened. Now, I waited a good 6 months before I mentioned it to Michael Horn because we were still being kind of angry at each other back and forth. Now, we're cordial to an extent, okay? So I do try to be nice to people that I disagree with. You can believe in whatever religion you want. And I've come to the conclusion Michael Horn is actually a religious follower of Billy Meyer. That's his chosen religious person of choice. And, if that's his personal choice, you can't say anything against it. Freedom of religion. Even if it's a UFO guy, hey, let them believe what they want to believe. Okay, so this is what happened. I woke up about 11 or 12, so I'm sort of awake, but my eyes are closed. And I spontaneously see Michael Horn typing on his computer. And I see it like from a perspective almost in the corner of his room, the top angle corner, looking down. Looking behind this shoulder's perspective at an angle. I'm looking down, I'm seeing Michael Horn type pretty furiously at his computer. It was an older computer. I could even describe it as tan colored. This is a fully colored video playing in my head. And I'm awake, but I'm half awake. So I spontaneously have this vision, is what it looks like, of Michael Horn just typing on his computer. And that's it. That was the beginning. That was the end. That's it. It wasn't any more elaborate than that. It was like watching Michael Horn type on his computer for 10 seconds, maybe 15 seconds. That was it. That's the extent of the entire remote viewing vision. So I woke up fully, opened my eyes, checked my phone, and checked Twitter. That's the first thing I did. And what did I see? I saw Michael Horn tweeted me 1 second ago. Literally. As I was having that vision of Michael Horn typing, he was typing to my Twitter account. He was tweeting me. I got to see him tweet in real time. He was sitting at his computer desk typing. I saw the tan-colored computer, the tan-colored monitor. It was a little bit older model than mine. That's what I saw. It wasn't anything nefarious. It was just him typing. That's it. So I wait like 6 months to mention it to Michael Horn. And this is my tweet to Michael Horn. I could probably trace back and find the tweet that he sent me. It was pretty insignificant. It was probably, this guy doesn't want to debate. He's a coward. It was probably something to that effect because we had a back and forth and he kept calling me a coward for not wanting to debate. I'm still, at this point, ready and willing to debate. We just need a neutral moderator that's 100% neutral, doesn't care either way. And I looked into the moderator Michael Horn picked. Was a big Billy Meyer fan. Already posted Billy Meyer, pro Billy Meyer videos. So I really wanted a neutral moderator, but this is the tweet that I tweeted Michael Horn. At Michael812. Okay, this is what happened. I spontaneously, out of the blue, automatically astral traveled. You were typing on a computer. It was lucid. I woke up and checked Twitter, and it said you tweeted me 1 second ago. Was interesting, though. And Michael Horn's response was, John, the problem is that I'm almost always on my computer, but chalk it up to being receptive to your intuition. Pretty good. So that's a compliment from a guy, okay, that very much dislikes me, okay? Many people dislike me. I'm used to it at this point, okay? We were enemies to an extreme degree, okay? And so he said he remote viewed back in the day, but the fact that he gave me a compliment is pretty interesting. That actually happened, and it was pretty uneventful. I have a bit of psychic intuition. I have a bit of natural remote viewing abilities. Perhaps everybody does. But I took a remote viewing test a few years ago, and these are the results of the remote viewing test. On February 27th, 2015, I participated in 2 remote viewing tests. The following are the best hits during those 2 tests. Here we have a weather balloon, circular shape, a little bit of a hit. Here we have a pink flamingo with its head and its feathers. I drew the shape of the flamingo's neck. I didn't know it was a bird at the time, but it is somewhat of a hit. Tracks in the snow, I did draw a similar shape to the tracks. Somewhat of a hit. A blocky mountain, not the best hit, but a hit nonetheless. Here we have a boat in a cove. This is a very good hit. I drew the cove very accurately. I drew the sailboat in a different location with the sail open as opposed to closed, but remote viewing wise, this is a really good hit. In the drawing, I did draw water and clouds. It doesn't match the picture at all. In my head, I visualized what seemed like a rice paddy field with water in it and clouds above. But this is a dock with water and clouds, still a pretty good hit. Here we have a mountain with some ice in the water. The mountain shape is definitely a hit. Here we have the Eiffel Tower. I would say by far this is my best hit. I did visualize a metal structure. It was abstract in my head. I didn't put two and two together, but if I thought long enough, I probably would have figured out it was the Eiffel Tower. I drew just the abstract shape I saw in my head. This does show I do have remote viewing abilities. This is not fake. I actually, 60 seconds before seeing this image, drew this drawing. And the last one is a bunch of boats on the beach. It's not an exact match, but the gist of the remote viewing is obvious. When you get the images in your head, they don't always exactly match. Sometimes you get a really rough version of what the image is. But it does show I do have some remote viewing abilities. Just to give you a little more clarification on whether I can actually remote view or not. I think anyone and everyone can. Okay, I've heard many Ed Dames shows with Art Bell where Ed Dames, the famous remote viewer, talked to Art Bell about remote viewing Lucifer, remote viewing this and that, and he was paid by the government to see if the human mind can do crazy things. And of course, the project was eventually canceled. As far as I know, the government doesn't have taxpayer money paying for any such experiments like that. But perhaps, top secret wise, it is possible they're still going on. You're not going to see and you're not going to find any seams because, like Bob Lazar said, they're perfectly crafted, designed specifically to not be seen by satellite imagery. But the road and the shape of the mountain itself really lines up with what Bob said. Also, consider this. Bob knew the schedules of the test flights of the flying saucers. He took his friends to Freedom Ridge to watch the skies and see the test flights of these UFOs, of these flying saucers. Bob and his friends saw the test flights. They observed them. They recorded them. And guess where these test flights were located? Over Groom Lake, not over Papoose Lake. Freedom Ridge overlooks Groom Lake, not Papoose Lake. And this northern mountain range is overlooking Groom Lake, exactly where the test flights would have taken place. So perhaps this northern location is the real S-4. Perhaps Bob purposely never gave us the true location of S-4. Perhaps he held that back. But I believe if S-4 exists, it's not near Papoose Lake. If S-4 exists, my number one candidate for the location is this northern region. Just because it was 5 minutes north of Area 51 as opposed to 15 minutes south, it doesn't mean it can't be S-4. I guess the bus driver could have driven extremely slow. Bob's a smart guy, though. It seems like something he would have purposely changed in the story. Maybe Bob thought he was safer if he changed the exact location of S-4. I don't know. That's just speculation. But my remote viewing session of the Papoose Lake mountain range actually happened. It's a true story. It actually happened. That's what I saw. I'm sharing what I saw, what I experienced, and I see zero evidence, both physically, satellite image-wise, realistically, tire track-wise, and on a remote viewing level-wise, on a psychic level. I see no evidence of a flying saucer hangar in any mountain range near Papoose Lake. Now, did I remote view this northern range, north of Area 51? I just now, for the first time ever, started researching this northern area of Area 51. And no, I haven't spontaneously remote viewed this location, other than guessing. So when I say I spontaneously remote view, it's something I can't fully control. If I research something enough, there's a chance I can remote view, but that's the closest it comes to controlling it. So I will investigate, and perhaps I'll try to remote view this northern region. Perhaps it's just like a radar station that protects the airspace over Area 51. It's probably something more to that effect, realistically, on a logical level. But perhaps there is a number of flying saucers in the side of a mountain somewhere. Tim Burchett, Tennessee representative. Never heard of him until his connection with UFOs and whistleblower David Grush at the UFO hearing. But he's a great proponent of truth and transparency. Tim Burchett said at the UFO hearing that there's no more UFOs at Area 51. They pulled them out of there years ago.
Can you give me the names and titles of the people with direct firsthand knowledge and access to some of these crash retrieval programs, and maybe which facilities, military bases the recovered material would be in? And I know a lot of Congress have talked about we're going to go to Area 51, and there's nothing there anymore anyway. It's just, and we move like a glacier. And as soon as we announce it, I'm sure the moving vans would pull up, but please.
I can't discuss that publicly, but I did provide that information both to the Intel committees and the Inspector General.
And we could get that in the SCIF if we were allowed to get in a SCIF with you. Would that be probably what you would think?
Sure, if you had the appropriate accesses, yeah.
That's what Tim Burchett is theorizing. He's stating it as a fact, but it's just a theory, and it's a very common theory. I've heard it many times before. I have a Area 51 Zippo lighter, never used, from 1997. Very popular year for UFO merchandise and Area 51 themed merchandise. But I disagree with Tim Burchett, who is repeating the belief that every flying saucer was pulled out of Area 51 many years ago. If it's a super ultra mega top secret facility that's even more secret than the main Area 51 facility, but is a ways off, and ultra top secret to the point where no one even knows it exists, in custom built hangars on the side of a mountain. We're talking $1 billion building with the most mad scientist, evil comic book villain layer you've ever seen, where the doors of the hangar are built into the side of a mountain on a custom level specifically for these flying saucers. They're not going to just wheel them out of there. They already have an ultra super secret facility no one really knows about. And they know the general area, sure, but they can't get close to it, and the use of deadly force is authorized, as all the signs say. You sign an NDA if you work for Area 51. But Bob Lazar said he was walking down the hall one day, looked to the left, saw a door that looked similar to this door right here, and saw through the window just for a split second to see a sitting alien in a small chair and two guys on either side of the alien. Now, Bob says it was probably a doll, and maybe it was just for modeling purposes, because the chairs in the flying saucer were very short. Only kids could sit in them, definitely not for adults. Bob said if you sat in the chair in the flying saucer, your legs would fully be on the ground. They'd be on the floor. A very low down seat. That really gives you a visual of Bob seeing a real thing when he explains in that type of detail. Sitting in one of the three chairs in the sport model flying saucer, the chairs were this high off the ground, and I have to assume they didn't have chair legs. They probably just had a bump this high off the ground. And so you're basically sitting on the floor when you're sitting in these tiny, tiny, tiny chairs. Maybe they're this high off the ground. Whatever the case, they're very close to the ground, and as a human, it doesn't work. So Bob theorized they were modeling the size of the being that would be sitting in such a short chair, but he saw the back of the head of what may or may not have been a doll. And Bob doesn't like talking about this alien story because I understand it brings up, oh, he's crazy, he saw aliens. When Bob says he's never seen aliens, he saw what looked like an alien, or perhaps a model of an alien, for a split second through a window at S-4. I do believe Bob Lazar knows things that can't easily be explained other than him working at Area 51 or nearby. And David Grush, they're trying to make it a non-story, a non-event. But continue to watch David Grush. Continue to follow the story. I believe it will lead to truth. Did you ever get briefed on UFOs?
Yes.
Are they real?
Let me just say, it doesn't exist, but I've been to Area 51, and I didn't meet anybody that wasn't from around here.
Okay, all right, there's the answer. Unidentified flying objects exist as a matter of fact. The Tic Tac UFO is a matter of public record. It exists, it's a thing. Whether you agree or disagree with what it is doesn't matter, because no one knows what it is. No one. There's a guy who claims there's a secret facility cranking these things out on like a UFO 3D printing machine level, but there's no evidence behind that either. Stay tuned. I'm going to continue to investigate flying saucers, UFOs, UAP, unidentified area phenomena, non-human intelligence. I'm going to continue to investigate these things. I've been on YouTube since 2008 actively making videos. My old channel actually joined on 6/6/2006 because it was a slow news day. But since 2008, I've been actively making videos. Since 2008, I've been making videos for this channel. And not once have I ever asked, not once in 15 years, have I ever asked on a single video to click the bell for notifications. Not once ever. So please allow this to be my first time of ever asking to please click the bell for notifications. Thank you for watching.
Click the bell.
I appreciate you watching. Please click the bell for notifications. See the bell right there? You really want to click it? And you really want to get notifications because new episodes of ZD-27 are coming soon. Click the bell for notifications. Click that bell for notifications. I thank you for watching. This has been John Rasmus Houston with ZD-27. This official ZD-27 t-shirt is brand new. You will see the link in the description of this video. Stay tuned. I thank you for watching. Be seeing you.
You are watching ZD-27. Thank you for watching ZD-27. Don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for subscribing. Click the bell for notifications.